everyone, it's Elise from Kit and Clouder online colouring classes, and today I have a quick tutorial on how to colour an orange with me with your coloured pencils. You can find the image for you to download and practice on in the video description, and if you'd like to colour the rest of the image with me, you can find it over at kitandclouder.com in my latest online colouring class, Tropical Cocktails. So we're going to work on this orange slice next. Now, these are really fun to colour. We're going to use a series of deep reds, oranges, and yellows to colour this up here today. So notice that even though the overall blend is orange, we introduce lighter variations with the yellows and there's deeper variations with the reds, just so it doesn't stay flat. And again, we use colour to help us show the variation in the levels of the object as well. Now, you'll notice here that I've got the rind, which is left basically white, and inside we get a little bit darker. So let's go ahead and colour that inside. I'm going to start with a little bit of yellowed orange. Make sure it's nice and sharp for this step. And I'm just going to start by essentially outlining each section. So I'm just going to come along the inside of each little part there. And then I'm going to start doing some texture. So I'm going to extend some strokes down that are all different lengths and even doing some individual strokes that aren't connected to the outline at all. I want each of these little segments to be different. And don't ever just leave that outline as just a line. Remember, we want to break that up as well with shading. Definitely not covering the whole area as well. We're just outlining and then creating these little interior strokes that are all separated with a gap between. The next color I'm going to use is I'm going to bump it up to my darker Tuscan red. So now that we know the overall, shape of each of these sections, we can use the Tuscan red to just come back and apply sparingly. So I'm not applying a lot of this color, but you can see I'm sort of sticking to the edges and just going over some of the detail, but not a lot of the detail. This is really important because we don't want it to end up red, but we want a little of that variation to happen. And I want each little piece to be slightly different. The next color I'm going to use is just a little touch of permanent red. And I just come over the previous and extend just a little further out. Again, I'm not using a lot of this color, and don't just stick to the outer edges. You can do a few little strokes on the interior as well. It doesn't always need to be over the Tuscan red as well. You can do a few like random little sections that are separate. Okay, next color from here is a little bit of mineral orange. So bringing in those deeper orange tones. And again, just over the previous and extending out a short way. So we're not like coloring in each area, I'm working in a series of strokes to build up that depth and texture. And the next color is going to be that yellowed orange again. Again, not covering everything, working with those individual strokes. And then my Deco yellow. And the Deco yellow is going to go in the leftover white space. And then at this point, I'm going to grab that blender pencil and I'm going to come over the darker areas and extend long strokes into the interior. Now the reason why we do long strokes is it's going to skip over parts of the tooth, and rather than blend, it will flatten down the texture that's already there. So you can see it's almost a little messy in my application to encourage texture in that end result. Coming along the outer edge, I'm going to use a little bit of mineral orange here. And I'm just going to trace that line where the rind is. Just keep the pencil nice and sharp and a fairly soft touch. And then to do the underneath, I just add as shading, which will make it easier to leave that little bit of white. You can always shade further away. Leave more space than you feel you need. It's always easy to come back and soften or close up the space than it is if you haven't left enough space. And then the next color there will be yellowed orange. And I'm applying it a bit messily again because I just want texture rather than smoothness. And even in this outer edge, a little messy. And then a little bit of Deco yellow, long big strokes to keep the texture. And then your blender, again, long big strokes. You can even use a bit of the white, make sure it's sharp in this little rind section. Now for a little bit of texture on the inside, I've got Goldenrod, and all I'm going to do here is just tap. This will create some darker and some lighter little dots, which will help it to look more natural. I'm going to do the same on the rind as well. And then even through here, we can do a few little dabs with a bit more pressure to create more texture.